archaeology wouldn't ring at such an hour if it wasn't important. Something's come up, surprisingly urgent. Urgent? Rachel switched on the kettle, her interest already piqued. Commercial work, Izzy explained. Up in Cumbria. Ah. Rachel had been working for Bristol's Centre for Maritime Archaeology for 5 years, ever since she'd received her PhD, but she often freelanced for commercial developers and county councils when they were in need of a maritime specialist, usually when something unexpected and often unwanted turned up during a property renovation or development. That was when things became urgent. Rachel put 2 heaped spoonfuls of coffee into the mini cafetiere. That's rather far, she remarked. She should know. She'd grown up in Cumbria, although it all felt a lifetime ago now. For a second, she let herself recall the forbidding facade of the house made of Lakeland stone where she'd grown up, halfway between Windermere and Kendal, with nothing but the lonely sweep of empty fells visible in every direction, and the relentless howl of the wind often the only sound. She saw the empty rooms, heard the ringing silence, the disappointment and grief shrouding the house in an invisible fog even on a sunny day. Then she pushed it all firmly out of her mind. Yes, Izzy agreed. It is quite far, but I thought since you were from there, you might fancy a visit. Go see your mum while you're at it. Rachel didn't reply, and Izzy continued. Besides, it's your speciality. Shipwreck in shallow water. Well, relatively shallow, around 15 metres. Probably not much left, but still something. Enough to warrant an initial investigation, at least. I'm all ears. Rachel leaned against the counter as she waited for the kettle to boil. So, here's the story, Izzy stated as she riffled through some papers. Some sort of wreckage from a ship has been found buried in mud a quarter of a mile off the coast of Whitehaven in about 15 metres of water. It was discovered when Copeland Mining Company did some offshore test drills. They're scheduled to reopen a mine for coking coal there next year. Nothing had come up with the remote sensing they did earlier, but when they started the drills, a few bits and pieces were caught in the core matrix. They reported it and intend to move on to another area for the tests, but they'd like to return to the area of the shipwreck as it's important to their development. So, they want an immediate investigation to see if there's anything that needs to be excavated. Okay. The kettle switched off and Rachel poured water onto the coffee granules, breathing in the comforting aroma. Any idea about the ship? Not really. Old, certainly, based on what they discovered, which admittedly wasn't much, just some iron bits, I think. Afterwards, they sent an underwater drone down, and what they saw looked substantial enough to warrant investigation. A few timbers from what looks to be the hull. She paused. They're dotting all their I's and crossing their T's on this one, because it's very important to them that this mine is reopened. Apparently, there has been some opposition from the local community, environmentalists, etc. There always is. So, they want a prompt and proper investigation. Everything done by the book, so there'll be no complaint. They'd already done both a DBA and an EIA, and nothing was flagged up. This shipwreck has come as a complete surprise to everyone, especially since there are already some documented wrecks in the area, and this definitely isn't one of them. Interesting, Rachel murmured. Archaeological desk-based, as well as environmental impact assessments, would have been an important part of the mining company's planning stage of their project, along with the remote sensing. This unexpected wreckage must have thrown quite a spanner in the works. So, it's a yes? Izzy asked, clearly already knowing Rachel's answer. Yes, of course it is. I thought so. Will Sayers is your liaison at Copeland Mining.